life goes better if I'm journaling.
Yeah, it's very true.
And some days it's like a paragraph. It's pages and pages.
Yeah.
And it just goes better. Even if it's like yesterday I went to the shop and that was it.
Mm.
End
Yeah.
of. But it gives you that opportunity to say all the things that perhaps you shouldn't say to other people as well, or that you're thinking that you know that it's holding you into a negative space. By writing it down, it takes the power away.
Breaking the cycle is a phrase that we hear often. But here on this podcast, it's more than words. I like to invite others who are actually doing it to sit with me. Those who have looked at the patterns in their own family and decided, just like me, that it stops with me. My name is Laziena, and I'm one of the hosts of the Breaking the Cycle podcast. My daughter Tasia, who is my co-host with me, is away on vacation. But in her absence, I am honored to welcome another mother-daughter duo today, joining us all the way from Spain. You guys are from England, but you're living in Spain. Okay. Sam, it's such a joy to have you both here. Please take a moment and introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Sam. This is my daughter Misty.
Hello.
And I'm an angel guide. So I read oracle cards and I specialize in space clearing properties, which is removing negative energy. Misty?
And I am an entrepreneur. So I co-own a business and I do dabble in content creation as well.
Oh, very nice. That's good to know. That's good to know. So, Sam and Misty, I love that you're into content creating because I feel like that's part of on the other side of the journey, it's our intuition and our creativity that like really truly show who we are. And for you to say that you're a content, you love creating content, that tells me that you are operating from your heart space. And I love to hear that. And I think that's the magic touch as well. So
Thank you.
on our podcast, with my daughter not being here, it feels a little awkward. But I always say I'm going to embrace the awkward. We've had a journey where our family broke apart, and it took me, it gave me an opportunity to look at my life and see how I was passing on generational trauma to my children. And one of the most beautiful experiences I've had was I looked in the mirror one day and it wasn't like I saw myself. I saw an older version of me, and it was almost unrecognizable. And I just had this like deep feeling in my heart. And I started crying and just apologizing to myself for carrying so much that really wasn't even mine. And it was almost like I was seeing the generation after generation of like, going from survival mode, going from not honoring our truths and, being subservient and just like lineage. And I saw my mother's face on me, and it was so releasing. And it felt like I really truly forgave myself in that moment. And it's been one of the most profound experiences, that's that has been a 6-year difference to get from where I was before to now 6 years later. I could offer myself that deep apology. It took layers and layers of reaching me and finding out who I was in order to break that one little pattern in me. And there's so many. So I would love it if you guys can share, how are you breaking the cycle in your family and creating a new cycle?
Yeah, well, for me, I have always been able to see and communicate with spirits
Mhm.
uh, and other dimensions. And in my family, it was always something that was there or that was never talked about. My
Mhm.
mum was terrified. She wouldn't go to bed without the hallway light on because we had a spirit woman who lived in the house. She was
Oh.
still my bed. I don't know why she was worried. My mum was worried because it was my bedroom she was in. But it wasn't until after my mum died that it became my dad. We were away. I don't know if you remember, you were very little. And he said to me, "Who are all these ghosts in this apartment?" I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "You can see them." And he was like, "Oh yeah, I've always been able to see them. It's just terrified your mum, so I never said anything." So I spent the majority of my adult life not talking about these things, not very successfully, trying not to talk about them. And what's happened in the last 5 years is that I've broken that cycle of not talking about it and have gone, well, totally the other way, really, doing podcasts and writing a book and working in the spirit world as a career. So that's how I've broken that. And I think, well, I'm going to let you speak for yourself.
Yeah, well, I think from our point of view, seeing you, well, you've always sort of let us talk about spirits or whatever we saw, and you never made us feel belittled by it or weird or whatever, because it was sort of like if we saw a ghost in the middle of the road, you were like, oh, that's normal. Like, that's all right.
Yeah. Probably not normal for most people.
No, but in our family, it was quite normal to talk about it. And I think seeing you grow in that sort of way and coming into yourself is really inspirational for me, because it means that I can path my own way without feeling this sort of what's the word?
Pressure.
Pressure, that's it, pressure from the outside world, because obviously I've seen what you've gone through, and I know that if you can go through it, I can go through it too.
I know, she's yummy, isn't she?
That's so sweet. I feel like as you're talking about that, right? What I got from what you're sharing is that you felt emotionally safe with your mom.
Yeah,
You
always.
It was never a I grew up in a um the house that I grew up in, it used to be an old hospital. And so it was just always scary. We didn't have electricity, and there was just always the feeling. People would say they see things. I've never really seen anything, but I just had that, grew up with that fear, right?
That instinct that something
Yeah.
else is there.
And even if I were to see something, my first instinct is like, nobody is going to believe me. I would not have that safety, and I would have grown up a lot of years not feeling safe to be myself, to even say I saw something, even if it wasn't true or whatever the case is. Like, being, I think that's so important for moms especially, moms, for parents to have that my camera just glitched, to have that emotional safety with each other, because then it just makes you want to thrive. Like, that is definitely a beautiful way of breaking the cycle. I love that. Is there any, what do you think? Dang, I am really tongue tied today.
Okay, just breathe.
Ew. I love that you guys are helping me co-regulate. Were there any challenges, what were some of those that you had to overcome in order to meet each other and have that safety?
Um, well, for me, I think growing up was more of a challenge because it was never talked about, but it was
Yeah.
always there. But it wasn't until I was about 20 that someone said, other people can't see that woman you're talking about in the corner. You maybe don't want to say it so much. And it
Mhm.
was like, that was like, oh, right. Okay, I need to shut up. So
Mhm.
for me, then I spent the next 20 years trying to shut up. And as Misty would tell you, I'm not good at shutting up.
No, not really.
So that was a major challenge for me. And then obviously we've moved to another country as well, which was the best thing we could have done. But
Mhm.
didn't come without its challenges, language being one.
Mhm.
Um, and so, yeah, there's been a whole host of challenges to get to where we are now.
Yeah.
And but that is the human experience. And it's like, okay, so these things have happened. How do we deal with them in the most loving, compassionate way we can
Yeah.
to grow what we wanted? And for me, although I know it was very different for Misty, lockdown and the whole COVID
Yeah,
thing
that's right.
was a huge opportunity that I took, because I was working in kitchens in bars. They were all shut, and suddenly I had time on my hands. Misty was in her last year at school. Her sister had finished school, so they didn't need me as much, when they're babies, they
Mm.
need a totally different kind of mum. Um, and so it gave me the time to study, to
Yeah.
to open up my spiritual side more. And that's when I started working with Carl Gray and the space clearing, which I have always been passionate about since I heard about it
Yeah.
25 years ago. It's a small part of my business because I was like, you've got to be in Spain, you've got to be local to me, you've got to be either spiritually minded or have a huge issue. And it wasn't until a friend whose house I had space cleared in Spain asked me if I could do it for her with a floor plan and
Okay.
an address. And I have no clue. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a go. The information I got, which apparently, again, I thought was quite normal that everyone gets history and you see all this stuff about a house. Apparently, that's not normal either. Um, um, as soon as I drew the plan out, all this information came. And the problem she had was it was a family house and she had a tenant in there and they weren't giving her access to do essential maintenance.
Mhm.
In 24 hours, the work had been scheduled. And it was like, okay. So that was a huge waking up point for me and a
Mhm.
huge turning point.
Yeah.
And since then, a book's come out of the case studies of the properties that I've space cleared, podcasts, which I love the podcast journey. I love talking. And all these other things have happened as a result. I know your experience of
Well,
lockdown was totally different.
yeah, but I think growing up, I suffered with bad anxiety and overthinking a lot, didn't I?
Yeah.
You still overthink.
Yeah, but not as much, not as bad. So then lockdown came and it was my final year at school, and I was like, I don't really know what I want to do. So it was sort of like, okay, and I had time to sort of go into myself. I was reading these books that were inspiring me and sort of giving me this new found of confidence of what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be, which my main thing was photography and travel. Obviously, travel was out of the picture in that moment.
Yeah.
But it did give me a chance to sort of like meditate a bit more, which gave me like mindfulness and like cleared a little bit of that anxiety that I was having because I didn't know what to do or who I wanted to be really. Because at 18, you don't really know. So I was able to go because we live in the middle of nowhere, literally. We couldn't see anyone. I was
Oh,
able to go on long walks and sort of think about it, go within myself and be like, who do I want to be? Where
yeah.
do I want to go? Where do I see myself going? It hasn't been easy the way getting there, to be fair. And but it's definitely a journey I wouldn't change.
Yeah. What do you think was the hardest part of that? So the reason why I ask, right, is because so in the healing journey and I'm learning about all over the world and how this plays out everywhere. We have thing emotions and needs and there's a part where we have to go inwards and look within us. And sometimes that's very hard to to express to other people, like, let's take the journey. And there's a lot of fear of taking the journey because it means meeting parts of yourself that you're not really going to like. Now, here I am in the United States of America, Florida. I was born in South America, in Guyana, in an Indian culture. So I have a lot of that kind of upbringing behind me in a different country. I've endured certain kinds of traumas, and mostly in the Indian culture is like sexual trauma that isn't talked about. And I've met a lot of people who have had similar journey, but also different, where, you know, you guys are in Spain. You're in a different country and you're learning about mindfulness. You're breaking generational trauma. And the core of all of that is go within. So, I mean, it's wonderful to me that you are 23, right? I
Yeah,
believe at 18 years old, you decided that I'm gonna go inward. I'm gonna go and look within me. That's such a powerful message because I didn't learn that until I was 38, you know? And I'm happy because my daughter, she's 24, she's your age. She's also had to go inward, but her journey to going inward came from sexual trauma, and some other people comes from poverty or, just not having emotional needs met. There's so many different walks of life, but at certain, like, I feel like that 18-year period is where we really needed to go inward. So I'm asking so that, you sharing that, especially at your age, it maybe can inspire someone who's listening, to want to go inward. What was that struggle like? What was it that you struggled with? How did you it even if it's just one thing, how did you
yeah.
overcome it? And yeah,
Well, I think the worst time for me was when I was about 14, 15. I
Mhm,
struggled really badly with depression and anxiety, and I just couldn't get out of it. Um, Even if I tried, it was sort of like a stop, wasn't it? I
mhm.
couldn't I couldn't articulate how I was feeling. And I'm not gonna lie, pets are a lifesaver a little bit. They're sort of that little joy where they don't expect anything of you, and you're sort of like, "Oh, you're so cute."
Yeah.
And that helped a little bit. Walking helped me a lot because it
Yeah.
gets me outside of my brain. Yeah, so that sort of I read a book. There's one book that sort of changed everything. When
Mhm,
I think I was 16 when I read it, and it was, The Miracle Man by Morris Goodman, and he'd had a plane accident, and he couldn't walk or anything, and he overcame that, and I was like, "Oh, okay, so all this that's happening to me is all inside my brain. I can change this if I sort of change the way I'm thinking." And it doesn't change overnight. You have to do it little by little every day. And that's the hard bit because your brain's going, I don't want to. Like, I'm tired. I can't be
yeah.
bothered. Like, I don't want to do this positive thinking. That's not how I'm feeling. But I also believe sometimes you do have to listen to your body. And if your body's saying, okay, rest today and
Mhm.
then change it tomorrow,
Yeah.
that's probably what your body needs in that moment. But yeah, walking, I think if you don't know where to start, walking
Yeah.
helps a lot.
Yeah.
And also walking is a form of meditation. If you've got no music or anything going on and
Yeah.
you're just out in nature, that is a form of meditation.
Yeah.
And it does take you to places where you get clarity.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
life doesn't seem so loud when you're just out there by yourself and you're sort of like, okay, these thoughts are very loud at the moment, but they don't mean anything really. They
Mm,
do mean something, but when they're that loud, it's probably better to get out of your head.
yeah. That's
And
wonderful.
write it down helps a lot of people.
Yeah.
I
I'm
find
big on journaling.
oh yeah. I was just wanted to add to that. Journaling, I feel like it's such an experiential thing. You're taking your thoughts and you're literally moving it through your nervous system and then releasing it physically onto that paper. I was someone who didn't like journaling at all, and that you couldn't get me to do it. And then I started and I saw the value in it. So I'm like, like, please journal, 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 journal. Beautiful
But
things happen
for
when you journal.
me, life goes better if I'm journaling.
Yeah, it's very true.
And some days it's like a paragraph, and some
Yeah.
it's pages and pages.
Yeah.
And it just goes better. Even if it's like yesterday I went to the shop and that was it.
Mhm.
Yeah. End
Yeah.
of. But it gives you that opportunity to say all the things that perhaps you shouldn't say to other people as well, or that you're thinking that you know that it's holding you into a negative space. By by writing it down, it takes the power away.
I
Very
don't journal all that often, but
Mhm.
I do
But you meditate,
sometimes.
but you meditate in other ways, right? I think when it comes to being artistic as well, like as a content creator, I'm sure your mind is coming up with different creative solutions all the time, or just creation, right? I feel like
Yeah,
that's also a way of meditating and
Absolutely.
journaling.
yeah.
And it's really nice to hear what you said too about, at around 15, how it was for you because I have my twins, they're 17, and sometimes watching them go through life, I know that they have to and I can't do anything about it. Sometimes it makes me feel helpless because I'm like, I I just want you to just do this thing and
Yeah,
it's gonna make you feel that thing, and then you don't have to do all of these other things, and it'll make you feel better. But you have to also go through that period of isolation because you have
yeah.
to figure out what you're doing. So it's really beautiful to, hear you talk about it in such a way. What is your business about?
Oh, mine? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, mine's compare your bills in Spain. So it's like a form of comparing any sort of bills, like electricity, insurance, and stuff like that. And then on
Okay.
the side, I do Misty Memories, which is what my TikTok is called, for like travel content and
Photos.
photography. Yeah.
Photography. Okay, that's really awesome. And photography, oh, I'd like to I'm gonna look at your TikTok because I want to see the lens that you look at the world through. I think that'll be beautiful.
Yeah.
Make
I
me
love history as well, so that my
yeah.
TikTok is history and photography all in one.
Yeah. What do you want so now that you guys have you're living in your new cycle, your new pattern, your new creation, what does that legacy look like for you?
Um, for me, I want to get space clearing more well known.
Yeah.
Because I believe that by clearing the negative energy in a space, in the spaces we live, doesn't only enhance our life, but it changes the vibration of the planet.
Mhm.
And especially at the time we're living in, I think that's very important that we raise the collective vibration. So
Yeah.
the legacy I'm hoping to bring about is more people space clearing their own homes
Yeah.
and living in energetically clean environments.
Yeah. I like that.
And I think mine is at the moment, kindness goes a long way. I think that's what I'd like my legacy to be, but kindness goes a long way.
Oh, this girl. Mm. Thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
Your words are just like butter and love and oh, it fills me up. So, Sam, when it comes to, I just want to stay there too. When it comes to the space clearing, tell me a little more about that. How did you? I mean, I think you shared a little bit of story about where it changed the trajectory of your life. But, what is it that I guess how you came to embody it, to just naturally flow with it, what it means to you. Like I don't know what it means. Tell me
Okay,
what it means. Yeah.
okay, so I was an estate agent, so I've already always had an affinity with properties. And I was always able to sell the properties that no one else could, and I had no clue why. If there was a spirit in there, I would send them to the light. And people say that sounds very simplistic, but for me, it is. Um, and so I didn't even know what space clearing was at that time. I was
Okay.
doing it unknowingly.
Oh,
And
okay.
then we moved into a house and I knew there was no spirits there, but it just felt heavy and off and not very comfortable. I mean, one
Mhm.
bedroom was black, which probably wasn't helping. Uh, and at that time, I met a friend of a friend, and she went, "Oh, you want to space clear that?" I'm like, "What is space clearing?" Google wasn't a thing then.
Yeah.
She just basically said, "Go round with the intention of clearing the negative energy and enhancing the positive, clapping and using a joss stick and incense stick." So that's what I did. And as I did that, I saw all of the history of the property. And so when I told her, I was like, and then I saw this, and then I saw that. And she's like, "You know that most people don't see anything, right?" So, "No, you didn't tell me that. Otherwise, perhaps I would have seen anything if she told me no one sees anything." Um, and so that started me space clearing, and that was about 25 years ago. And since that point, I've space cleared the properties that we've lived in. If someone mentioned they had a bad smell or objects moving or they just didn't feel right, then I'd bob round and space clear their house
Mm.
and for fun. And so, yeah, just for fun. Now it's evolved totally and it is more of a ritual procedure that I do,
Yeah.
but I'm a strong believer that everyone can do it.
Mhm.
It is basically setting your intention. It's like a block of clay. The biggest handprint leaves the biggest imprint in that clay. And unfortunately, we know that negativity, when our memories go back, the things that easiest to pull out are the negative.
Yes, true.
The positives are harder to find, right? We have to
Mhm.
concentrate on that.
Yeah.
And it's the same for a property. It's holding the negative as the strongest handprint. And so if we can remove those, enhancing all of the fun, the love, then we're in a much better space in our lives and also in the environment around us. I've had one client who had terrible problems with her neighbors. They would shout abuse at her. They would physically fight each other outside her door. And after space clearing, they started being polite to her. They stopped fighting. And it's just because of that negative energy. They were also relatives to the people who had the property before. But it just has a knock-on effect to everyone around and making the world a better place, in my belief.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I There was a house that I owned. This was this was about 6 years ago, and it's my family home, and it's where some the abuse and not only abuse. Like I wasn't even I didn't even like who I was, to be honest, even then. But after everything happened, going into the house, it just felt like it wasn't home anymore. Like it was just and the energy just wasn't good, like, at all. It was this and I had to leave. I was like, I just left. I took everything and I moved. And now I live in St. Petersburg, and it was a great move, and I'm glad that I moved. But it was a lot of heavy things, and it almost felt like it's the generational heaviness of all of us. I didn't have any clarity of who I was. My partner at the time didn't have any clarity. We were hurting each other. I was hurting him. I was hurting my daughter, like emotionally. We were just carrying around a lot of heavy things. So it just feels like different now to just be in a different space, from more love, operating from more, self belief and empowerment and just knowing. So,
Yeah.
um,
But we even say if you walk into a room where there's been an argument, you could
yeah,
cut the atmosphere with a knife.
yes,
We can say it. And
yeah,
but that stays in a building.
mm-hmm,
So then the next time you have an argument, we're human, we argue.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah, of course. It's when people I'm a relationship repair guide. So when people
Yeah.
say they don't argue, I'm like, okay, come on now.
Yeah. Right. But every time we have an argument, we're putting another layer of negativity on that property.
Exactly.
And quite often you'll find that if there's been a divorce in a property, that the next people that live there, there's a divorce as well.
Mm,
Because there's that energy in the property. So
yeah.
it's about removing that so that we enhance the love, we enhance the compassion, we
Yeah.
enhance the tolerance. Because
Right.
as human beings, we need to be tolerant. If we're
Yep.
gonna live with other people, we need to be tolerant.
Absolutely agree. That's definitely something I strive to do because I feel like we're all coming from some unmet need. We all have something that's happening with us, and that's the perspective we're looking at the world through. That's the lens. So if someone is saying something from love and their intention is purely love, if I'm not operating from love myself, I'm hearing that from that lens. I'm hearing that as self-doubt and
Yeah.
um I definitely resonate with the clearing. I think there's this practice back home that my grandparents used to do. We would light the incense and we would just kind of go around and just do the same
Yeah.
thing that you described.
Yeah. Because it's an ancient thing, and
Yeah.
every tradition has it at
Yeah.
some to different levels. What I've done is I mix and match.
Yeah.
I have my own way of doing it, but it's all rooted in the past. It's
Yeah.
all rooted in the ancient rituals that were performed. There was a reason they did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a reason
Yeah.
churches have incense, some churches, incense and bells. It's
Mm,
not only the bells aren't just to call people to church, it's
yeah.
to clear the energy.
Yeah. Well, I sure am glad that you not only found your not only did you found your voice, you started operating from that self-belief and that your very own energy. And to hear your daughter just look at you as she's talking, saying that, you were such an inspiration for her. I I imagine your heart swells because mine did, and that's how it feels when I hear my daughter speak about me too. So I love that you are both on the journey together, present on the journey together. I think that's important.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're twins. You have the same aneurysm, the
I'll
same.
take that.
I'll take it as a compliment.
My daughter used to hate when people say you're just like your mom. Now when people say you're just like your mom, she's like, I'll take it. I'll take it's very lovely to be in that energy with you guys. And I wish that she was here, but that's perhaps we can do I invite you both to do another episode with the two of us. I think that she will quite enjoy that.
That would be good.
Yeah.
So if there's as we tend to wrap up a little bit here, what's one message that you both want to send to other people's hearts?
To learn how to protect your own energy so that you're not affected by other people's energy or the properties you're going into. So learn to protect your own energy and know you deserve not to have negative energy near you.
It's beautiful.
I think mine would be no matter how hard it is right now, it does get easier. Just one step at a time. I
That's
think that would be
beautiful.
mine.
Gosh. Okay. Now, one more time, Misty, put y'all all of the ways that people can start following you and find you and search you, and Sam for you as well. Because, we want everybody who can relate. If this episode resonate with you, please share it. We invite you on to talk with us and reach out to us however our preferred method is. So Sam and Misty, go for it.
And you go first.
So you can reach me on TikTok at Misty Memories, and it's the same on Instagram and YouTube as well, and Facebook, I think, actually. It's the same.
And I'm Sam Angel Guide on everything. My website is samangelguide.com. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, no, TikTok's different. Uh, everything else is Sam Angel Guide.
Wonderful. And for me, Laziena.com, I am your relationship repair guide. I like to help people return to love after conflict. And that's usually all about energy too. So I just love that we're sharing the space of energy. Thank you, ladies, so much for having this conversation with me. And I look forward to our next talk. And to our listeners and viewers, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you again next episode.